I'm going to call this meeting to order because it's 6:30, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before Pam does her presentation, board members, if you speak, you can see we all have lovely microphones in front of us. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for coming tonight. I am Pam Doyen, Superintendent of Schools. I'm going to go through our relatively brief overview of this year's proposed budget. And as always, we start this budget with 4 considerations. How does the budget support the strategic plan that RSU 56 has in place? What's best for our students? How do we support our current employees? And how do we respond to our community concerns? So this year, on April 28th, the RSU 56 board voted to move forward a 5.39% increase to the budget. That makes a budget of just under $16 million. It's up $817,991, and the reasons that are up are probably not going to be surprising to anybody. We have increases in salaries and benefits. Our negotiated increases between our different groups are anywhere from 3% to 6%. Our benefits insurance in particular went up 10.25% this year, so that was a pretty good chunk of money. We have increases from oil prices, as you can imagine, if you drive a vehicle of any sort. In fact, we have one of our warrant articles is to move $140,000 from carry forward money into an account in case we need more than what we actually have in the budget. Because if things don't go down, we're going to be into a little bit of an issue in the long run. So you'll see that warrant article as well. And as many of you know, if you go to the stores, everything, supplies and materials have all gone up, so we have an increase there. Region 9 is up about $65,000 over last year, and we have a school resource officer and an extended learning opportunity positions that were previously paid for with grant money. That grant money ends, and we are looking to keep them in the budget. So those are the big reasons why our budget is up. So the administrative team did have some priority requests. One of them is a Dean of Students stipend position at the middle school and at the high school. We do have a Dean of Students currently at the elementary school, and we found that to be very beneficial. We would like to do that at both of those schools. It's $6,500 for each of them, so a total of $13,000. The purpose of that is to support the principal in some of the lower level behaviors that happen, some of the attendance issues, some of the maybe truancy issues, dress code issues, those sort of things that are kind of lower level. We did repurpose funds from the nutrition department in order to support that, so we didn't add any additional money in. We felt like we could back out that money from nutrition. We're also looking to add a network manager. That's about $98,000. It's a year-round position. That's with salaries and benefits, and we reduced in other areas in order to be able to make that happen. I want to be clear before I show the reductions that these reductions are not easy. We're not saying these reductions are things that we don't want, but I think one charge that we always have as the administrative team is how we're using our money that we have and what's the best way to use it. So these are the things that we switched out in order to be able to do the Dean of Students and the network manager. I'm going to ask Dr. Swan to come up and talk about why we felt like we could take out these $36,000 in contracted service, social work service at the elementary school.
Good evening. My name's Charlie Swan. I'm the principal at the elementary school, if you don't know who I am. So some questions around our social work position. And first of all, I want to echo what I'm sure others have said. There is a great need for social work services in our schools. Our kids are dealing with significant issues that are more impactful in their lives than really they've been in years. So I don't want there to be any message that there's not a need for social work services in our school, because that's not the case. So this position started about 6 years ago, and we really were contracting with Oxford County Mental Health for a crisis counselor to fill a role, because we had students at school who were going through some pretty significant crisis, and that was playing out in the school building. So being able to have a counselor on hand, trained, that was able to support those students and be able to connect families to resources was really the goal, and why we started contracting with Oxford County Mental Health. Oxford County Mental Health became Community Concepts. They folded into that organization. And so last year they didn't have somebody. This year we have somebody who's fantastic, very positive person. They're not certified in the areas, so the ability for us to use the position how it was originally intended is pretty limited in those ways. And again, the person is terrific, very positive, does anything is asked to do. But there are restrictions that we have in our contract with Community Concepts in terms of how we can use them based on their training and their level of expertise. So we're kind of in that position where we're in a part of Maine where the need is great and the resources to fill that need are not there. So that's kind of the background as far as why this position was considered and eliminated at our school. Do you want to field any questions?
Anybody have questions for Charlie?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not exclusive to them. No, that they were just the organization that took over from Oxford County Mental Health, and the one that was the closest in terms of where we are geographically. So.
One more behind you, Charlie.
So we've done that the last few years for sure, but we're also asked to be economically kind of frugal and wise with what we're doing with our money. So that's kind of the trade-off. That's hard. So yeah, we need the social work position, but we've opened our counseling position up a few times. In both times we've had very few applicants for that. There's just not people trained in that area that are coming to Western Maine to support schools in that. I think the reality is there's opportunities in other parts of the state that are maybe more beneficial to those people. I don't know, but I would say yeah, that would be great. It would be a great luxury, but I don't know if we can continue to have money in there that we're not using for its original intent.
Charlie, Natalie.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you explain what resources we do have in place for kiddos, so we're not eliminating social work altogether at
absolutely.
the elementary
So
school?
schools do one of two things. They have a guidance counselor, or they have a social worker, or sometimes they have both, depending on the school. So when our guidance counselor position came open, we kind of opened it up as an option to have either. Our guidance counselor at Derigo Elementary School plays like a classroom teacher. They see every classroom in the building once a week, and then she also does office hours where she supports students in small groups or one-on-one if is needed. So we have that support in the building through our regular guidance counselor. We also have a special ed social worker who comes in once a week that works with students with IEPs that have social work services in their IEP. And so that service is also for several students who have IEPs that need that service, and that's why it's built into their IEP. So we're not eliminating all social work in our building. We still have our guidance counselor who helps meet that need, and we still have a person who comes in through our special ed department as well.
Charlie, could you also say the person we hired for guidance was the social worker that was working with the kid? Yep,
Barb just said it, but the person we have as our guidance counselor was working as this contracted service, and then we hired her on full time. Yep.
I don't see any other hands up, Charlie. Thank you. I
You're
will say
welcome.
one more comment about social work. One promising thing is the Department of Education is working to have teletherapy for social work available to schools. So that may be one more option that we can use for students in any grade level to get social work services. All right, I'm not going to read this whole list to you. I do want to point out a couple of things. Again, you can see the $13,000 from nutrition lines. We always put money, nutrition sits outside our budget. They hopefully are self-sufficient year after year, but sometimes what they take in doesn't necessarily cover what they have to put out with salaries, benefits, and foods. So we do keep money in our budget to help them so that they don't ever run in a deficit. We took out $13,000 and feel confident that we can still cover what they might need for beyond that. $10,000 course reimbursement. We have in our contracts that if people want to take courses that they can take up to 3 or sometimes 4 a year per contract, and the school will pay for them. Mary and I have done a 3-year analysis each year, and quite often people ask for more courses than they actually take. So we felt like we could slide this back by $10,000. If perchance everybody takes every course they say they're going to, then we will be looking around in other lines to cover that, but we think that that will be perfectly fine. And the other big one is legal fees, and I'm standing on wood, so I'm going to knock on it. In the 9 years that I've been your superintendent, I've kept us out of too many legal fees, so we're hoping that that continues. We did leave enough in there that has covered more than what we've used the last couple of years, so we should be fine there. I don't think there's anything else up on there that's not what we might understand. If there's any questions about that before I go on, I would be happy to answer them. So first of all, I will say this was a part of the whole, so we didn't take all of it out. And secondly, we got notice from WFRP that they weren't going to do summer services this year because they're doing renovations on their school. So we shall see where that lands. But that would not be all of it. If we have kids from WFRP that need summer services, we left enough in there so that we can cover them. Good question, though. Okay, moving on. So we did do a pretty extensive list earlier in the year on why we thought the network manager position was important. I am, again, not going to go through the whole list. I've done it before. One thing is spot checking student devices. It would be really nice to be able to do that more frequently just to make sure our devices are being used for what they're supposed to be and not for some nefarious reasons. We also have delays in camera work. So if there's an incident on our bus or in our schools, it would be really nice to be able to have somebody that has access to cameras that can get us that footage pretty quickly. Safety is a huge thing. Safety of the devices, but also safety across the district. There have been a number of times that we have an outage and our phones don't work. And that is a safety issue in terms of people being able to call in and us being able to call out. So getting us back up and running quicker would be better. And then we also would like dedicated tech support in each of our buildings. Right now we have one full-time person at the elementary school and a shared person between the high school and the middle school, and we'd like to be able to have somebody housed in each of the 3 schools for that support. And we'd also like to have more professional development opportunities for our staff so that we're using technology to enhance our lessons more effectively. And then leveraging technology, we've had, unfortunately, some kids that have been out either medically or suspended or expelled, and we would like to be able to put them into online classes, but to have somebody that has a specialty in that and can support that work would be great as well. So here we have the town assessments at 5.39% increase. You can see that Canton would be down slightly, just about 1.4%. And Carthage would be up slightly, just over 1%. Dixfield would be up just over 5%, and Peru would be up just about 8.3%. And our average across all 4 towns would be 4.24%. The impact on a $100,000 house, we've got these from the towns. Mary and I do not try to figure this out in any way, shape, or form. According to Canton, for every $100,000, they'd be down $19. Carthage would be up $7, Dixfield would be up $75, and Peru would be up $16. And I think I want to go through some historical data tonight because we've now been a district for just over 9 years. In 2017-18, which was our first year, you had a total budget of just under $13 million. there was an average increase across the 4 towns of 11.916%. This proposed budget is just under 16 million with an average increase of 4.24 across the 4 towns. And just because it's always interesting, looking at that 12.959164 million year one, if you put that through the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, you would be looking at what should be a $17.1 million budget today if you were going to have the same buying power. So to me, that just like shows that we haven't kept up necessarily with what we had even going into that. This is our budgets from FY18, year one, to FY27. And you can, I'd have you look down the right-hand column way to the right, and you can see that we've been pretty lean most years, 1.5, 3.5, 2.02, 0%, 1.85, 2.64. So people are asking me about, like, people around us are doing a lot of cuts in some districts, and I'm like, that's when we did our cuts. Like, we did a lot of cuts over our first 6 and 7 years to keep us as reasonable as we could. And then obviously last couple of years we've had 5.3, 6.2, 5.39. And again, those numbers keep what we have. They don't necessarily give us more. It's just keeping what we have costs more each year because of all of those things that I said earlier that make the costs go up. And this is the percent increases to towns from the start of 56 to present. So if you can look down, like Canton has averaged over those 9 years, 6.67. Carthage has been 10.33. Again, those two are the highest, and that was in large part due to their windmill valuations that they went up. Dixfield has had an average of 3.89 over the years, and Peru has been the lowest one with 3.53 over the years. And our average over the 9 years is 4.81. And then people have asked me, like, if you have fewer students, should you have fewer staff? So I looked back to our beginning year, 2018, and on the ED 279s, which is the state formula, we had 772 students in 2018, and we had 53.2 staff, with a staff-student ratio of 14.5 to 1. Today, in 2026, we have 711 students, which is down about 8%. We have 44.9 teachers, which is down about 15.6%. And we have a student-teacher ratio of almost 16 to 1. So you can see when you look at this data that we have cut a number of positions over the last few years, and we've worked hard. Like when we've had fewer students, we've had fewer staff members. And then some people have asked me, like, how do we compare to other districts? So again, I just went to the ED 279. RSU 56, again, has 44.9 teachers. EPS, that's Essential Programs and Services, says we should have 42.23. And EPS is Essential Programs and Services from the state, and they even acknowledge that they don't cover everything you need, okay? But they do cover some of it. So we're over that minimum by 6.32%. But when you look at other districts around us, like RSU 10 is over by 23%, 73 is 25%, 44 is 50%. Like we have worked really hard to keep us pretty close to the essential programs and services. And then we've been asked about building administrators. RSU 56 has 2.8. So we have 1 full-time high school, 1 full-time elementary school, and an 80% of the time middle school principal. That's what we have for 2.8. And again, you can look down and see where we compare to districts around us. I was surprised when I saw 73s, and then in some conversations, we realized that they have dean of students at the middle school, so that doesn't sit in EPS, but it is an additional person at the middle school, and they have an APAD at the high school. So they actually have 2 people at the high school and 2 at the middle school, but they don't get lumped into the EPS formula. Brad, question?
Could you clarify why we only have an 8/10 middle school principal?
Yes, we just only keep 80% of Jason around. No, Mr. Long is 80% of principal at the middle school, and he does 20% as curriculum coordinator for the district. So he's here full-time, but he has his job split out because we can't afford a full-time curriculum coordinator. And then I was asked this by Tom Child when I was at the Dixfield Select Board meeting, so I just wanted to share it, even though I don't think it's useful at all. And this is why I don't think it's useful. He asked me what our per pupil spending was compared to the state average. So the state average is $19,803.88. But when you look through the range, it goes from 0, so some towns don't currently have any kids, so they don't have any per pupil expenditure, to almost 92,000 was one town. And so I'm not sure how helpful that 19,803 is, but our per pupil is 20,465. And then I looked at a couple close because I figured that's what you really care about. RSU 10 is 20,271 and 44 is 22,149. So we're kind of in the comparative area, but I'm not sure it helps to look at the state average, or at least it didn't to me. So again, RSU 56 board recommends that 5.39% budget to budget increase for a total budget of $15,986,741, and it's up $817,991. Any questions? We have tonight's budget meeting. June 9th, you would be voting in your towns from 8 to 8. Everybody's at their town office except Dixfield. They vote here in the gymnasium. Questions? So we spend slightly more than RSU 10, yep. Yeah. But it's per pupil, so it's divided out per student. Yep, so currently we have our technology director, and then we have 2 informational specialists who work out of the buildings to help support in there. So we have a total of 3 people right now, and we would like to have 4. Any other questions?
Can you clarify, Pam, because when we had, during COVID, we had 3 besides our director, but also that, you know, we approved a job description, but that does not mean that's all they do. You know what I'm saying? You know, they're going to be in the building doing what the others do.
Absolutely. So this position is kind of a hybrid position because they would be in a building doing exactly what our 2 information specialists do now, supporting students and staff with any issues with technology and that sort of stuff. But also because some of our buildings are smaller than the others, if they're in a smaller building, they would also be doing the work that we had outlined for them in terms of like doing some data computation and that more fine work that we don't have our current people doing. Because it's a different skill set. So this person's gonna have to come in with both skill sets. Good questions. Anything else? Okay, before we move into the next part, I just wanna remind you that you do have all of the warrant articles that we're going to go through in front of you. And so if you can use that to follow along and read, then it will leave Dick from having to read everything if he gets elected as the moderator. Who knows how this is going to play out. But and if you want to speak at any time about anything longer, please come up to the podium. So our first order of business is to elect a moderator to preside at the meeting. Could I have a motion? Terry. Do I have a second? I have a second. Do we have anybody else that wants to nominate anybody different? Seeing none, all those, no. This has to be a written ballot. We only need 1. So if we could have one. I'm going to go check the box. So if we could have 1 person, any volunteers to. It doesn't say that on my agenda. No. Cease and not. Do I have a motion to cease nominations? And a second? All in favor? Probably should have done that before we did the other one. Do we have a volunteer to go and put 1 written one? Would you come up? Do you want just to read this as opposed to saying after me?
Yeah, I'll just read it.
If you could raise your right hand and read this moderator's oath.
I, Richard Pickett, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof, so help me God. I, Richard Pickett, do swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my abilities the duties incumbent on me as a moderator of this meeting according to the Constitution and the laws of the state, so help me God.
And if you could sign. And I'm going to sign. This one wasn't working very good, is it yours?
Do you need this back?
She gave you that back. Those are the ones for your ballot clerk, so you good.
Okay, I gotta do the ballot clerks, okay? I can do the same thing, have them read it too. So Earl and Julie, please come up front. Julie, please come up front. And what I'm gonna do is the same thing with you as they did with me, so I don't have to have you repeat after me.
Okay.
I'll just have you read both of those, and then I'll have Earl do the same thing, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. I, Julie Kutcher, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state so long as I shall continue a citizen therefore of, so help me God. I, Julie Kutcher, do swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my abilities the duties incumbent on me as a ballot clerk of this meeting according to the Constitution and laws of the state, so help me God.
Okay, and Earl?
I, Earl Couture, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof, so help me God. I, Earl Couture, do swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my abilities the duties incumbent on me as a ballot clerk of this meeting, according to the Constitution and laws of the state, so help me God.
Okay. You are sworn in after you sign. This is you, Julie, right here. I'll sign yours off. I'll sign off on yours first. If you can sign yours, Earl. Thank you, Earl. There you go. Yeah, I'll do that first. Okay. Good evening. We've got a little bit of housekeeping to do here, not to set the tone of how the meeting will go. If you have a cell phone with you, please turn it off and place them or place them on vibrate. If you need to receive a call or must make a call, please leave the cafeteria and go out in the other hall over there so there won't be a disturbance, please. If you have a question and you want to speak, please come up to the mic and speak. State your name for the clerk and then proceed to say whatever it is you have to say. Please be patient, be considerate of others, and speak to the moderator, not another person or official in attendance. Speak directly through me. All questions will go through the moderator. References to officials will be by title. Each person will be limited to no more than 3 comments or questions. If comment or question is not germane to the topic of the warrant article, it will not be allowed. And any non-resident motor, that doesn't have anything to do with here. I take it that everybody here lives in a town that is in the RSU 56, no? Do we have anybody that is not? Okay, so that being said, if you want to speak on something, you have to have the audience give you the opportunity to do that, but you cannot vote, okay? And we can do that right now, just to make that available to you if it's needed. Not gonna be needed? Okay. All right, just wanna make sure if you wanna, we can. Don't worry, Kenny will speak enough for both of you. Okay, so now we got, Mary's trying to keep me straight here, and hopefully I'm gonna try to find it. Probably have lost it already, Mary. When we're gonna have one written ballot, so it'll be a yes and no, but do not split it apart. Don't tear it apart, just circle it, and then that way there, you can put it in the box, correct? And there are pins by the box that you can circle it before you put it in, so please do not split it, because it won't be a valid vote. And you're gonna have one of these, you should have one of these, and this is for if you wanna speak, you raise it and I'll call on you, and if you don't wanna speak, when we ask for the vote, put it up and hold it up until I tell you we've got it, okay? And now we'll take care of that. I think we took care of everything, didn't we? Okay, let's get started. Article 1, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for regular instruction. The school board recommends $4,688,880. Do I hear a motion? To accept the school board recommendation. Do I have a second? The amendment will be made after the motion is made and seconded, and then it becomes on the floor as the primary motion, and then at that point, if there is an amendment, that can be made at that time. Okay. So we have a motion and second. Who made the second? Okay. Okay. Nope. Okay, got to see your hand if I don't see, okay. Okay, go ahead. Yep, right up and state your name, come up to the mic and state your name, please, and give your amendment.
Can you hear me now? It's like the old cell phone commercial. I have significant concern over the cutting of social work services in a time when we know kids are struggling now more than ever. We've talked a lot about frugality and, not wanting anything that's frivolous. And while I understand how important technology is in education, I work for a school system, I really don't like those things kind of being at odds and a trade-off for one another. I have worked at Dirigo Elementary School for 15 years in special education, and I know the needs of the kids in these communities. And I feel that now is not a time to be taking away potential contracted services, even if you have to contract with Booth Bees or any of the other agencies that are out there statewide who may be able to give us a day or two a week. I don't want to take a risk on something the DOE may come through with, because sometimes that takes a while, anyone who's been around for a while. So I would like to make a motion that we add $36,000 back into our budget. I feel like to those of us as taxpayers, and I pay Dixfield taxes, to me that's going to be kind of pennies on the dollar at that point, and I think the kids are worth it. So I move to put $36,000 back into the budget for social work services. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a second to that motion?
Comments or questions? Yeah.
We have a clarification to make, not that it's gonna not that it's gonna stop you from making an amendment, but I think it's a different place it should have to be made.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. That should be under student support staff, so that should be under Article 5 would be where that would go back in, as opposed to Article 1. So I don't know if you want to add 36,000 to Article 1, if you'd like to withdraw that and hold it for Article 5.
Okay, because what the way to do it best, where there's an amendment on the floor, and we know what your intention is now, the way to do it, straighten this out the best way, would be to take a vote, and if it's voted down, then that leaves you the option to be able to put it back in on 5.
I should have checked with Mary first.
Okay.
Sorry.
So we have an amendment to the primary motion on the, yep. It's not, according to Robert's rules? Are you withdrawing the motion?
I'll withdraw.
The second has to withdraw their second as well. Okay. Second is made as withdrawn, and you're withdrawing it at this time? Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, so is there any further discussion? Now we're back on the primary motion, which was what the school board recommends, $4,688,880 is what the sum of the regional unit will be authorized to expend for regular instruction. So we're back on that. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, put up your card. All those opposed, same. Motion carries. Article 2, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for special education. School board recommends $3,438,077. Okay. Moved and seconded. Did the clerk get who the motion and second is? Okay. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Article 3, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for career and technical education. School board recommends $160,996. Do I hear a motion? Motion to approve as read. Who? Somebody spoke? You want to second it? Okay. Motion been made by Carol and Bruce is seconded on that. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with your card. All those opposed? Motion passes. Article 4, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for other instruction. School board recommends $647,733. Do I have a motion?
Move to accept the school board recommendation.
Seconded. Do I have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes. Now, okay. Yeah. Article 5, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for student and staff support. School board recommends $1,843,795. Do I have a motion? Okay, do I have a second? Okay, this is your, and we've already heard you, yep. So we have an amendment, and that was, just give us the amount you wanted to amend it by. Was it 36,000?
36,000.
Okay, do I have a second to that? Okay, so there was an amendment on the floor to add $36,000 to the figure that we have on the primary motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? Okay, we got to have another vote here, so 'cause I couldn't tell for sure. So we're gonna take, and all those in favor of the amendment, put your card up and hold it, so we can get a count. Okay, got it? Okay, I got it. All those opposed? Motion fails. 9 for and 14 against. Back to the original motion on the primary motion for the amount of being $1,843,795. Do I have any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Hold your cards up. I think we're going to be all right now. All those opposed? Motion passes. Article 6, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for system administration. School board recommends $605,299. Do I have a motion? So moved. Okay. Seconded? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Article 7, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for school administration. School board recommends $697,211. Do I have a motion? So moved. Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Second? Bruce? Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 8, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for transportation and buses. School board recommends $1,235,803. Do I have a motion? So moved. Do I have a second? Seconded. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 9, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. School board recommends $1,858,142. Do I have a motion? So moved. Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Yep. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Article 10, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. School board recommends $656,012. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 11, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for all other expenditures. School board recommends $154,793. Do I have a motion? So moved. Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Article 12, to see what sum the regional school unit will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the regional school unit will raise and assess as each municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essentials Program and Services Fundings Act, in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15688. Recommend amounts set forth below. Total appropriated by the town of Canton under municipality is $1,808,680.57. Town of Carthage is $1,324,532.77. Town of Dixfield is $5,219,232.90. Town of Peru is $3,601, $3,601,820.60, making a total appropriated in that category of $11,954,266.84. Total raised in regional school unit assessments by municipality. Town of Canton, $698,286.50. Town of Carthage, $519,716.34. Town of Dixfield, $1,319,518.75. And Town of Peru, $1,101,151.34, making a total in that category of $3,638,672.93. There is an explanation on that, but you all have it on, have you all had a chance to look at that on your agenda that you have? Your warrant that you have? So that would explain what this is for. So at this point, I would entertain a motion. Motion has been made and been seconded. Did you get those? Okay. Motion made and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 13, to see what sum the regional school unit will raise and appropriate for the annual payments on debt service previously approved by the regional school unit voters for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects, in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the regional school unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12. School board recommends $7,529.35, and you have the explanation. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at that. I'll entertain a motion. Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Do I have any discussion on Article 13? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Article 14, which is a written ballot. This is where you're going to use your written ballot, and please do not split it in two. Keep it, and like we said, there are going to be pins down by the ballot box if you need them. Article 14, to see what sum the regional school unit will raise and appropriate in additional local funds. Recommend $2,979,317.43, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by recommend $2,824,524.43 as required to fund the budget recommended by the school board. The school board recommends $2,979,317.43, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $2,824,524.43. The school board gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model. This model does not fully cover the costs of regular classroom instruction, special education instruction, extracurricular and non- and co-curricular student activities, district administration and leadership, student transportation, and school technology. There is an explanation. I take it that you've had a chance to read that. That being said, I'll entertain a motion. Okay. Moved and seconded. All those, make your ballot and make your way down to the box. Okay, just so you'll know why I was sitting down by the ballot box, I'm requested to do that, to make sure that everybody puts only one ballot in. It doesn't that I don't trust you, but I have to do that as the moderator. Yes. And I don't see why we can't continue until we get the vote, right? Oh, they haven't voted yet. Oh, true, they wouldn't be able to vote. You're right, you're right. Yeah, that's true. No, no. And I hate that setting down there, what you really, I'm required in the moderator manual to do that. And on that amendment, I didn't know that it was, you're the one that told me about being in different articles. It was already, the cow was already out of the barn. Had to let it back in. I don't think there's gonna be too many no's. Yeah, maybe one. I'm gonna say two. You know the people better than I do. Nobody ripped them. Nobody ripped them in two, so that was good.
Well, I think we've learned that for several years. I remember that town meeting.
Yeah, because, you know, if you had a vote that was really contentious, and you had people do that could mean the difference in passing or not passing. Because it completely voids that right out. I should say that I should have ordered coffee on Kenny first while we're waiting. I'm gonna shut up. I can do that. Him and I have been friends for years and years and years.
32 votes, 25 yes, 7 no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll repeat that. 25 yes votes, 7 no votes. Article 14 passes. Article 15, to see what sum the regional school unit will authorize the school board to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026, and ending June 30th, 2027, from the regional schools unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. Local funds for non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes Title 20-A, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. School board recommends $15,986,741. Do I have a motion? Motion's been made. Do I have a second? Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 16, sorry. She's keeping me straight. In addition to amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the school board be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school and other program purposes, provided that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Did you get the second? Okay. Motion's been moved and seconded. Do I have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 17. Shall the Region 9 School of Applied Technology approve a budget for adult education in the amount of $417,221 for the year beginning July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027, with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of its adult education program, and shall Regional School Unit Number 56 raise $100,947 as its share of the adult education budget for Region 9 School of Applied Technology. I'll entertain a motion. Have a second? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Article 18. Shall the school board be authorized to expend up to $160,000 from the Technology Reserve Fund to upgrade and install audio-visual equipment throughout RSU 56? And there's a note on the bottom there. You want to read that, and that'll explain something to you as well. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Did you get the? You all set? Okay. Motion's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Article 19. Shall the school board be authorized to establish a new energy reserve fund for unbudgeted heating, electricity, and transportation fuel costs, to transfer up to $140,619 from available fund balances to said reserve fund, and to expend from said reserve fund as needed in the discretion of the school board? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 20. In the event that the regional school unit receives more state education subsidy than the amount included in its budget, shall the school board be authorized to use 25% of the additional state subsidy to increase expenditures for school purposes in cost center categories approved by the school board, to use 25% of the additional state subsidy to transfer to the capital reserve fund for maintenance of plant and minor remodeling, and to use 50% of the additional state subsidy to decrease the local cost share expectation as defined in Title 20-A, Section 15671-A1B for local property taxpayers for funding public education as approved by the school board. Do I have a motion? Do I have a moved and seconded? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Article 21. Shall the school board be authorized to transfer amounts exceeding 5% of the total appropriation for any cost center to another cost center or among other cost centers for the 2026-27 fiscal year, provided that transfers shall not be permitted to increase the authorized total school budget? Do I have a motion? I have a second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Article 22. Shall the school board of Regional School Unit Number 56 be authorized to issue a bond or note in the name of the RSU for purposes of purchasing one school bus in an amount not to exceed $135,000,000. $1,000. 135,000, Kenny. 135. You get that, Ken? 135,000. Okay. To be paid in not more than 3 annual installments and appropriate the same. So moved. Do I have a second? Don't take his second. Take hers. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Article 22 passes. And that concludes our warrant. And now, in a moment, I'll take that motion in just a minute. I want to thank you all for being here tonight, and I also want to thank you for a really a fast, efficient meeting. But it's been my pleasure to be here, to be able to be with you tonight. So at this time, I will entertain Bruce's motion like that, I think. So, Brad moved it, and who's seconding it? You don't really need it, but I want to get it. Everybody here can second it. All those in favor? All those in favor of adjourning, go home. You gotta have